Hello? So, point being, have you ever been called by God? Not on your phone, but have you ever been called by God? I think every one of us in one way or another could say, God called me to do that. Or God called me to go to that person. Or God called me to move there. Or, God called me to do this new thing. Or God called me to change a habit. Or God called me to change my attitude. I mean, you pick the thing, but God calls us to do things. And I think a lot of times when God calls us, it raises a lot of questions. Sometimes, especially if we're trying to figure out if God is calling us, it raises the question, God, are you really calling me to do that? Or is that me just thinking that you're calling me to do that? Or if it's something we don't want to do, it's easy to think, God, surely you're not calling me to do that. I prefer to do that because it's easier. And it raises all these questions about, God, are you doing this? Is that your voice? Can I really hear that? Is that true? Is that just me? Is this God's call? And I think part of the reason it's hard to discern God's call sometimes is because God's call is a big deal. I mean, when we say God calls me to do this, we're saying this is part of God's plan. This is part of God's will. This is something that God is leading to happen. And that's serious. I mean, we don't just say that about, my friend asked me to go do this, or my parents asked me to do this. But when we say God calls me, I mean, that brings weight to it. And all of a sudden, it's serious stuff. And God's call is not something that we can take lightly. The good thing is, Moses did not take God's call lightly. Imagine that you were in your 80s, which some of you are in your 80s, but imagine if you're in your 80s and you were shepherding your flock in the middle of the desert, even on the side of a mountain, and as you're shepherding your flock, you see a random bush burning. You're in the middle of the desert, lots of dirt, lots of rocks, and you see a random bush burning. And the bush isn't burning up, it's just burning. Kind of like a candle that it burns with a flame, but you really don't see any damage or anything happening. It's just burning. And so Moses sees this, and in probably one of the greatest classic understatements of the Bible says and shows Moses with this reaction. Moses sees this lone burning bush, and then Moses says, "This is amazing. Why isn't that bush burning up? I must go see it." I mean, it's like, well, yeah, you must go see it. I mean, come on. Just go. So yeah, he goes and he sees this bush. And then it gets stranger. Because the bush starts talking. And the bush says his name. And the bush says, "Moses, Moses." And if you're Moses, you're walking around the desert, you see the one burning bush, it's burning up, but it's not burning up, and then it speaks to you. You're wondering what's going on, and the voice says, "Take off your sandals, do not come any closer, because you are on holy ground." Now, in the desert, you don't take off your sandals, because something's going to bite you or poke you. So Moses is wondering, I'm in the desert, why should I take off my sandals? And by the way, why is this holy ground? Because this is dirt. And everything else is dirt. So why is this spot? Why is this holy ground? I think it's safe to say that God got Moses' attention. I mean, if I was Moses, God would have my attention. And that's the moment when God calls Moses. And the way that God calls Moses, and Moses' reactions to God's call, they show us, I think, a couple really brilliant things about what it means to hear and what it means to respond to God's call. So we're going to start with exactly what God called Moses to do. It's Exodus chapter 3, just a few verses. It's in your bulletin or it's up here. By the way, this is not a technological difficulty. This is actually just a test to see if you can figure out the words on either side of the screen. So have you been reading your Bible? We'll see. So Exodus chapter 3. I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. This is God speaking. I have heard their cries of distress because of their harsh slave drivers. Yes, I am aware of their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians and lead them out of Egypt into their own fertile and spacious land. Now go, Moses, for I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people, Israel, out of Egypt. There's the call. Now, if you were Moses, my hunch is, and if I were Moses, my hunch is that we would be totally gripped by this call. Not just scared, which I'm sure he was, but totally gripped by it. Even compassionate to it. Even ready. Because God is speaking Moses' language. Moses is a Hebrew. And God is talking about rescuing the Hebrew people. I mean, it's like somebody saying, go rescue your own people. Go to your family. Go to the people that are like you. Go to the place you grew up. That place where you have a feeling of kinship. The place you care about. The people you care about. I mean, God's saying, go to your own people. Because you know them, you love them. And I want to rescue them, and I'm sending you. So it's like, who better could God have picked than one of these people's own to rescue them? And Moses is already set up to be compassionate about this. And then God talks about, I know their oppression. I've seen what's happened to them. And has Moses seen what's happened to his people? Oh, you bet. Read the previous chapter. That's that crazy episode where earlier on in Moses' adult life, he saw some of his own people being oppressed as slaves by the Egyptian leaders. And he thought it was totally unfair. So he took matters into his own hands. And he confronted the Egyptian. And then he dealt with the Egyptian, and it was not pretty, and he killed the Egyptian, and he hid the Egyptian in the sand. Moses saw how horrible this suffering and oppression was that his people were dealing with. And so Moses knows, well, God, if you are going to rescue these people, if you've seen their oppression, if you've seen what they've been through, then okay, I'm on board with that, because I've seen that too. Again, it's like God picked the right person because he's seen it, he's cared about it. But once Moses saw all that happening years ago, he left. He fled and he ran away because he was in danger. He knew his life was in danger if he didn't. And he would probably end up like all of his other people, enslaved and oppressed and having to work. And so he ran away because he was scared of what might happen to him because of what he did. So Moses never saw that anything was dealt with. His people were still suffering. His people were still enslaved. It was not resolved. And now God comes to him and says, I'm going to resolve this. If you're Moses, you got to be thinking, great, finally a way out of this. Moses is the right guy for the job. And I would say that God chose correctly. Because it's close to his heart, it's in his experience, it's part of his passion, it's part of who he is. So when God calls Moses to be the one who rescues God's people, God's call makes sense. There's times when God's call just makes sense. And it should, shouldn't it? If God created Moses with the certain passions and the certain experience and the certain ways about his life, shouldn't God call him to something that uses those passions and those experiences and those things that have happened to him? In the same way, God's created us with certain skills and abilities and gifts and experiences. And doesn't it just make sense that God would call us to do things and to approach people and live in ways that match those passions and those experiences that we have? It's a whole lot easier to do it that way than the other way. Because we already have those passions built up. God doesn't have to create them. We already have them. So it just makes sense that way. Has anybody ever taken in their life a spiritual gifts test? A few of us have. The whole idea with spiritual gifts test is this idea that in Scripture there's several lists or groups of spiritual gifts that God has created people with or gives us. Gifts like mercy and compassion and leadership and teaching and lots of other things. And the idea with spiritual gifts tests is like an evaluation of us to figure out what gifts do we naturally have. What gifts has God created us with so that we can then live out of those gifts and strengths? So the whole premise is identify your gifts so that you can maximize those gifts. Don't waste your time on the things that aren't your gifts because you aren't going to do very well. So maximize your gifts. It's kind of like a strengths test. Maximize your strengths. It's the whole idea. Build on your strengths. Build on your passions. Build on the things that God has wired you with and the things that God has given you. So if we're ever in a situation, maybe it's a situation right now, where God is maybe calling us, or we're wondering if God is calling us to something, and we see that there's a match between what we think God might be calling us to and our built-in passions and our gifts and the way that God has wired us, that's kind of an indicator. It kind of makes sense. God could very well be calling me to this because it matches who I am. Does that make sense? It does, doesn't it? Make this match happen. It just makes sense that way. Let's take a specific example. We've been talking about a little bit off and on the fact that we are exploring starting an after-school Bible club here at Shannon Ranch School. There's actually a group of us that have started meeting and talking about what it would actually look like and some specifics to it, because we believe that God might be calling us to this. So seriously, we are in the middle of discerning whether or not God is calling us to do this. And so if you take the approach that God's call makes sense, then we probably think about a few things. For example, we've received an invitation from the school to start an after-school Bible club. That makes sense to go start one because public schools don't usually invite churches to start after-school Bible clubs at their schools. So maybe God could be working in that way. That kind of makes sense. Add to that the fact that where do we meet for church? At the school. We sort of already have some relationships built in. We already have some familiarity, hopefully a little bit of rapport going on. And so we want to use our energy and pour in our effort in a place where we are already invested. That makes sense. See, there's things that just make sense about God's call. And so those things are maybe some points on the side of, this just makes sense. And so we're discerning this whole thing, and those are some of the factors that go into it. So, back to Moses. Once Moses receives his call, and once Moses starts to try to make sense of this, and once Moses hears it and thinks, okay, now I understand the call, I think Moses does what every good, faithful follower of God would do. He tries to get out of it. He runs as far away as possible. And he doesn't just do it once, he does it 5 times. I never knew there were so many ways to say no before I read Exodus 3. 5 times he says no, in 5 different ways about 5 different things. He's just saying no over and over again. Take a look at these. They're quite brilliant. First one, but Moses protested to God, "Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt?" In other words, I'm nobody compared to the leader of a country. Who do you think I am? I've got no credibility. I have no position of political influence. I have no audience with the Pharaoh of Egypt. You can't send me. That's no number 1. God addresses that, and so Moses has to move on to number 2. But Moses protested, "If I go to the people of Israel and tell them, the God of your ancestors sent me to you, they will ask me, 'What is his name?' Then what should I tell them?" Moses is like, well, hey, if I go to my people who know me, and I tell them that God, you came to me and said that, this guy Moses is going to go rescue the people, and they ask, well, who is it? What's Moses going to say? Because these people didn't have this close, intimate relationship with their God. They didn't know God's name. They didn't have this friend kind of relationship that sometimes we talk about with God. It was not that personal. And so for them, Moses is anticipating, well, these people are going to ask me, who are you? And he's like, I have no idea. So what do I say? So of course not, I'm not going to go because I don't have a clear answer. And then God gives God's name and addresses number 2. So Moses moves on. But Moses protested again. What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say the Lord never appeared to you? In other words, what if they look at Moses and say, You're lying. God didn't come to you. You didn't hear correctly. You didn't get the call. You have no idea what you're talking about. What if they don't believe me? God addresses that one too. Gives him some miracles to perform. Moses keeps going. I mean, this guy's strong in his nose. Number 4, but Moses pleaded with the Lord. Oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. Matt went through this one. I never have been, and I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied and my words get tangled. See, now Moses isn't protesting. This one starts off with Moses is pleading. The first 3 were protesting. These 2 are pleading. I mean, you've pleaded before, right? Oh, you can hear it. Oh, God, no, I can't. I was just pleading with God. I can't. I'm not skilled. I'm not available. I'm not ready. I can't do this. And then God gives him Aaron. So Moses has to come up with something else. Number 5. And I think this is where it gets real. This is where Moses gets very honest. But Moses again pleaded, Lord, please, send anyone else. In other words, I just don't want to do it. I don't have the skills, I don't have the ability, I don't have the guts, I don't have whatever it is. Just please send somebody else, because it's not going to be me. I think Moses finds at least 4, if not 5, pretty valid reasons for saying no. Logically speaking, he's not the guy for the job. Even though he's got the passions and the experience, he doesn't have the skills. He doesn't have the position, he doesn't have the influence, he doesn't have all that's needed to go to Pharaoh and ask for this, and for Pharaoh to say, sure, no problem, your people can go. I think there are times when God's call does not make sense. Certainly there are times when it does, it's logical, but certainly there are times when it just doesn't match up. And that has to be the hardest kind of call. Because when it doesn't make sense, when it doesn't match up, when we're not the people that we think are the right people for God's call, that's the hardest one to say yes to. Because it doesn't match. My passions aren't there. And you know what? If I say yes to that strange kind of call, people are going to think I'm crazy. People are going to think I'm not hearing God. People are going to think I'm not understanding and being faithful to God. People are going to look at me and think that's nuts. Plus, that's going to be a hard call. It's going to require a lot of me. It's going to require a change. It's going to require a lot of work. It's going to require more than what I'm getting now. It's hard to say no to the kind of call that doesn't always make a whole lot of sense. But I firmly believe that for anybody who said, Jesus is my Savior, and I want to live my life to follow Jesus, that's the kind of call that makes perfect sense and doesn't make sense at all. Because on the one hand, following Jesus and having Jesus in our lives, it makes perfect sense. In fact, I grabbed one of these off the table. We have these brochures on the back table. This is the way of making a relationship with God make sense. And we have these. We can give these to people. We can read these and be affirmed. Because it lays out, we wrote this, 5 steps or 5 ways of describing how a relationship with God works. You know, God created us good. Then we messed it up. But God's faithful, and God recreates us good by forgiving us. It kind of makes sense. How God's call of us into a relationship, it just makes sense. But sometimes I wish I could write another one of these that's like the totally illogical way of being in a relationship with God. You know, one that's like 100 pages, because it doesn't make sense. Because how is it that the God of the universe wants to be in a relationship with us when we've done nothing to deserve it? You know, who are we to be in a relationship with God and for God to love us? I mean, the Bible describes it in a few ways. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. God so loves the world and loves us that He gave His Son for us. God's everlasting arms are underneath us. I mean, the Bible describes it, but how is it that we can be in a relationship with God? It just doesn't make sense. And yet that's God's call. Sometimes God will call us to things that makes perfect sense. And other times, God calls and it makes no sense at all. And that's where the life of discernment comes in. This is not part of the Exodus passage, but this is just something that I feel the need to at least give us a couple tools. This is not the 5-step approach. This is not the logical take this step and then this step, because I don't think there's a formula for discerning God's call. but just a couple steps that I think are, if we're going to discern God's call, here's a couple steps that are absolutely necessary in one way or another, in one order or another. One, pray. Like seriously, pray. Like ask God, what are you doing? What are you saying? Please help me understand it. Because at least with Moses' story, when Moses asks, what are you doing? God doesn't say, okay, forget it, I'm going to move on. God addresses it. God wants us to be in conversation with Him. So let's pray. Pray with others. Don't pray alone. Ask somebody else to pray for you, with you, alongside you, all the time, and then keep asking you, what do you think? How's it going? Find a friend, a confidant, somebody who you can pray with. And then third, and I don't know how it fits in the order, but it might come first or second, or, well, not first, but second or third or somewhere, is take a step. Test it out. Sometimes that's a small step of, I'm going to interview for that job, to see if that's a direction. I'm going to get to know somebody in that place, or in that different setting, just to find out what it's like. Or I'm going to have a conversation with this person that maybe I'm called to go talk to. Okay, take a step. See what it's like. See if God confirms something there. Or it could be a big step, like leave, go somewhere else. It could be take something brand new. It could be quit something. It could be start this new thing. Whatever it is, take a step. Because sometimes that's what God just calls us to do. And it doesn't always make sense, but it's still God's call. So let's pray.